So let's jump into the notes and let's start talking about the changes here. So the first thing is that this is going to start on May 17th. And it is a 4-day opening window to get into the event. So the event opens up at 3 p.m. On May 17th. That's 3 p.m. Eastern. And it ends at the same time on Monday, May 24th. So for the first 4 days of the event, newly created level 1 characters will be automatically zoned into that Caledonia battleground. That's pretty exciting. That's an extra day from what we had before. And if you watch the past state of the game, it was my best guess that they were going to extend it, or it was at least my hope that they would extend it, because they seem to have fixed a lot of the problems that they had set out trying to solve by limiting that entry period anyway. So honestly, it's pretty good. 4 days is a ton of time, especially just to create a level 1 toon and log it in. So that's the first thing. Same as the last event, where if you leave, you can't come back in, which makes complete sense. They did not enable Siege. One of the things that we were talking about on the state of the game was the possibility of Broadsword bringing Siege into it and how that might change the dynamic. They have decided not to bring Siege in. So as the prior Caledonia event, all monsters, so essentially NPCs and Siege weapons, are removed for the event. And they have also brought back the pet NPC for classes that can charm pets. So at 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday, May 21st, that is character starting locations will reset to their default zones. So essentially, starting on the 17th, you'll create a level 1 toon, you'll log it in. You can create it ahead of time, but just like the prior event, you shouldn't log in before the beginning of the event if you want to participate. The first time you log that toon in, as long as it's after the start time of the event, it'll port you right into Caledonia to get started. And that sort of stops as of the 21st of May. So as of 3 p.m. on the 21st, you can no longer gain an entry into the event. That's essentially what that is saying. So make sure if you're going to participate, even if you don't have the first 4 days to play, make sure that you go in and you create that level 1 toon, and after the start of the event that you log it in, at least to get it into Caledonia so that you don't end up missing out. So there are level caps every single day, and they increase by 9 levels, it would appear. So the first day, you can get up to level 9, so that would be 1 through 9. Then day 2, it would be 1 through 19, right? And etc. 29, 39, 49, 50. So let's talk about the improvements that have been made. And this is in Broadsword's words. We've made several updates during the previous event and have several new ones for this iteration. Characters that are 7 levels or below the day's level cap will receive the Caledonia boost buff. This buff greatly increases the damage dealt and greatly reduces damage received from characters that do not have the buff. So that would be higher level characters. Characters with the Caledonia boost buff active will also double the XP and BP rewards for themselves and the group. Huge incentive for those higher level groups to invite lower level characters or low level toons into their groups, because they reap the benefits of it. When the level cap reaches 49, the buff will be given out to characters 3 or more levels under the cap. Okay, so pretty similar to what they did. There might be some small tweaks. We'll have to go back and look at the notes, but on a very similar scale to what was done, or the changes that were implemented mid-event last time around. Broadsword realized that they needed to bridge the gap, and so they put this buff in place, and I think it actually worked really, really well. Random teleports into the zone are now all open field locations. That's a huge improvement from the last Caledonia event, where some of the starting locations were inside the portal keeps, which are not really portal keeps. If you're used to Caledonia or any of the battlegrounds, or Old Frontiers, right, in the way that portal keeps worked, it was a safe zone. They've moved those outside of the boundary of the map. So when you log in and when you end up in your sort of starting location in Caledonia, these are not the traditional border keeps or portal keeps, rather, that you're used to. These are new areas that have been essentially built or placed outside of the map. So in the first Caledonia event, there was a chance that you would port into a portal keep and you would get absolutely wrecked because there would be people camping those portal keeps. they've solved that problem. We've got some folks in chat. Welcome, Sour Times and Bronder. If my chat application would catch up, that would be great. There we go. Thanks, Calibrex, for the 1 year. That's incredible. 12-month streak. Thank you so much. Sour Time says hello. Pronder says, I wish they didn't have a close date for new tune creates, but I like that it's been extended at least. Stickynote says hello. Hi, Sticky. So let's go back to the notes here. The buff NPC offers a free of cost full buffs token to level 1 and level 2 characters. Level 1 through 5 characters will no longer receive resurrection sickness after death, and its duration is set to 60 seconds for all other levels in the zone. That's great. That gets you back in the action faster. The XP off and RP off commands no longer stop XP or RP gain in Caledonia. This is a pretty big difference from the first Caledonia event where you could XP or RP off to prevent yourself from hitting cap. So they're saying, nope, you got to play it all the way through, and you have to decide when you're going to stop. You can't just determine that you're done and XP or RP off. Crowd control durations now have a reduced starting duration, scaling down by 1% for every level 50 or every level below 50. This was detailed in the patch notes that went live on live on Pendragon yesterday. And there's been some talk in the official Discord about it being a nerf to CC, but I think it just means that crowd control, it's going to be it'll be easier to get around, especially as you get higher level and don't have to deal with MLs. And certainly, a lot of these tunes, most of these tunes won't have high debt, at least for the first few days. A new realm point penalty system has been introduced. This might be the biggest change and the one that I'm most excited about, but also might be the most controversial. So they are cracking down. They're making it more difficult to be successful in a battle group in this event. They want players to roam. They want there to be balanced fights. They haven't outlawed them, right? In typical Broadsword fashion, they've just essentially created a system that encourages people to play in smaller numbers. So let's go through that bit by bit, and then we'll get into chat, because I know there's a lot of people that are talking about it. So again, a new realm point penalty system has been introduced to the Caledonia zone for kills done by overwhelming forces. Realm points are drastically reduced for kills where a realm outnumbers the other by 3-to-1 odds or more. This penalty currently only triggers when the attacking realm has 25 plus members in the area of the kill. Area of the kill is not defined. We don't know what that radius is going to look like, but essentially it says if you've been in Folly or any of the bow towns in the last couple of months since they've introduced some of the changes, they've put in an anti-camping measure to essentially make it really difficult to make any RPs at all if you're a group and you go sort of rolling through those bow towns / solo areas. So this seems to me almost identical to what they've done in Folly, Trell, and Moy, right? Where they've just essentially they've not eliminated, but made it very difficult to make a sizable amount of RPs when you're outnumbering the other realm or whoever else you're fighting. The system is designed to encourage groups to roam around separately more during the event. Again, they're not saying you can't run a BG. They're not saying you can't run 16, 32, or however many you want, but you're not going to make RPs. A lot of them, at least. Anywhere near as many as you would if you were just running 8. I think that also says BGs, if you're out there and about, again, you can do it, but if you add on fights, it's probably not going to go super well in terms of making any RPs. It's not going to be worth it. So let's jump into chat. There's a few other things, but let's jump in. By the way, just a reminder, if you want to go over to my Discord, that's discord.ramikmedia.com, or you can just jump in if you're already a member. There's a State of the Game channel down in the voice area, down in the voice channels, and you can jump in, and if you click the raise your hand button, you can join us live, and I'd love to hear your opinions, as long as you're respectful and you don't dev bash, and you can give your honest take, but I'd love for folks to raise their hand. We get you in here. You'll be on the podcast. You'll be on the State of the Game. We can have a quick chat. So anyway, let's get into Twitch chat here. And let's see here. So starting off with Derwent says, would have been cool to do the event on a different map, but glad to see all the changes they're planning. Pronder says, I like that it's a map that isn't available full time. I agree with you, Pronder. I also like the fact that it's kind of a rarity to see it. Stickynote, I think the reason people XP oft was to keep getting RPs and BPs each day, because once you hit the level cap, it stopped. That's not a problem anymore, right? It doesn't appear that it's a problem anymore. Although I don't see anything in the patch notes that suggests that that's changed. So you very well could end up not earning RPs after you hit that level cap. That's how it was in the prior event. I don't know. Actually, let's go back to the notes. Let's finish reading the notes before we start talking about stuff, because I think the answer might be in the notes. Kill counts for completing quests have been reduced at the early level ranges, and champion level experience rewards for quests at level 50 have been drastically increased. So this is the bit that I think we need to read. How far will I be able to progress? It says players that start at the beginning of the event should be able to reach 50, champion level 15, master level 10, and realm rank 5+, with the potential to earn much higher realm ranks. Characters will also be able to earn enough bounty points to not only obtain gear as they progress towards 50, but also to use for endgame gear via bounty crafting after reaching level 50, so it actually doesn't address it. I'd be curious to know, one of the questions that maybe is outstanding for Broadsword is what Sticky's alluding to. Once you hit the level cap for the day, will you be able to earn RPs and BPs, or will it stop like it did in the prior event? I don't know. Good question. Pronder says there were some that XP'd off due to grief, especially in the lower zones. Gear Bunny, aka Coda Cadenza, says the only feedback I'd offer is the separate instances for every 5 levels. It removes the need to put a buff on characters below the caps. There's some talk about the buff. I think the buff is interesting. Creating a ton of instances and splitting up the action makes it really difficult. I understand the desire to do instances for every 5 levels, but here's the issue. You end up in a situation where on day 4, people are in completely empty instances. And I think that makes it really, really difficult to level up. So it looks to me like it's the exact same instance day 1 through day 7. That's what it appears. And that is beneficial to people that are starting late, because it means that they can get groups and catch up. That buff will encourage those higher level groups to pick up lower level players. So that's a good thing. Yeems except the anti-group thing is completely worthless, as it does nothing to a full group, but really only hurts a small man that comes through Bowtown, which was never a problem. Oh, okay, you're talking. I gotcha. Good point. Conversation for another day. Maybe not this particular stream. Pronder says he's taking half days. If it was a 10-day event, might change that to a week off period. Very interesting. Sour Time says, I'm torn on the XP off and RP off changes. On one hand, it attempts to prevent negative behavior, but it also removes any incentive for people to stay beyond hitting cap. After day 4, hopefully you've got other tunes that you can play that you can then level up. People's time commitments are going to vary there, but I get your point. Pronder says you could still make BP and RP at level cap this time. Okay, interesting. I didn't realize that was the case. Coda Cadenza says Caledonia could honestly end up with a new server type if it was always on, adding some mobs to keep to the keeps when no one is on. The other 2 realms would keep people from getting stuck. Interesting. I'm getting clarification that characters, just to confirm, characters that reach the day's level cap will still be able to earn realm and bounty points this time. Okay. That's good. Fantastic. Good to know. Okay. And I'm just catching up on chat, and you guys said exactly the same thing. Yeem says, do you think the reduced RPs with larger numbers is a direct answer to, say, Hororius trying to organize enormous Zergs, or based on feedback from last event where it may have just been too Zergy in general? Yeems, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I would say it has something to do with feedback. I mean, Broadsword listened. They listened really carefully during the entire event last time. They made significant changes. They were on top of things from day 1. And I would imagine that this was not just some sort of internal decision that was like, well, this just seems like the right... I mean, I'm sure they got some feedback, and I'm sure they saw how Zergy it got in the sort of later period of the last event. And it did get really Zergy. And it got really difficult when, when things like master levels were introduced. So master levels seem to be here. That's fine. MLs are not really the issue when there's a barrier for Zergs to run down smaller groups. I don't think that is as much of an issue. So this, I think, kind of solves that problem. But I'd imagine it was due to feedback. So yeah, Shadow Dancer says, I got stuck a few times, grounded out, but that wasn't fun. Okay, I'm glad the stream is working. So again, we'll stay live. We'll take some questions in chat. You can also jump into my Discord. That's at discord.ramikmedia.com. There's a stage channel there called State of the Game, and you can join that, and you can raise your hand, and we would be happy to bring you on if you've got a mic and you want to talk for a couple of minutes about your feelings on this. Yeah. So in any event, Coda Cadenza says, I think the Zerg penalty is probably a test for Frontiers. You bring the Zergs when you want to take keeps and relics. You do 8-mans for higher RPs per hour. Pronder says, people started clumping and it got silly. I think in reference to what happened during the last Caledonia. I agree. I think it did get a little clumpy, if that's a way to describe it. I do. I think it got... once the BGs realized that there was more action inside of Caledonia than there was in New Frontiers, they started making their way. The first couple of days, I hardly noticed any BGs at all. There might have been some on off hours, but during US Prime, I didn't see them. And now Hororius has suggested that he will be participating in this event. He said that on our State of the Game, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, when we did the Zerg or BG State of the Game. He did, in fact, say that he would be participating in this event. Coda Cadenza says 16v16 used to be a popular thing back in OF days. Sure. But with the population the way it is right now, I think it's difficult because there's not an equal number of groups running equal numbers. Does that make sense? There might be a battle group with 4 groups, and then there's a 16 and an 8-man. And so back in the day when there were like 16s, like a ton of 16s running, a ton of 8s running, a ton of BGs running, it just kind of made sense. Now, maybe not so much. Now I think being able to kind of tamp that down is a smart thing. Calibrex asks, will you be playing Midgard? I don't know if I will be playing in the event. I'm going to try, but I'm kind of hoping that we can do some kind of special streams for it. So I may be doing sort of multi-stream events throughout the Caledonia event instead of actually playing in it. I'd much prefer to show you guys and show the folks that may not be playing Ywain full-time how awesome it is during these events, and I'd much rather like be on the external end of things and streaming and like producing content than actually playing in it. But I don't know. We'll have a group. The 8-man that we usually have during most nights of the week will be running, but I don't know. If we do run, I think it's between Alb or Hib, and I think we're leaning on Hib. I don't know. Lydios asks, Glorious Legan will be participate on Caledonia event. Legan will be participating in the Caledonia event. Yep. He is going to be running an 8 though. He will not be zerging. He will not be running a BG, as far as I know. But yes, he will in fact be participating. So anyway, just to recap, if you're just joining, Caledonia notes dropped. Would highly encourage you to go check it out at darkageofcamelot.com. They've made some pretty significant changes to the event since the last time around, including opening up the entry period to 4 days instead of 3. It would appear that there is 1 instance this time and not 2, right? The last time around, was it, or were there 3? Was it 1 through 5 and 5 to 9 and then 10 on, I think. This one, it appears it will just be, all characters will begin and remain in the same Caledonia zone for the entirety of the event. So there's no more instances, which means after day 3 or 4, even 5, if you still just created a level 1 toon, you're not going to be struggling to make RP and XP during the event. Very exciting. Toons is here. Hello, Toons. It's good to have you with us. Sticky is here. Let's get Sticky is raising his hand and would like to jump in. So let's invite Sticky to the floor here. Sticky, you have to accept that. There you go. Hey, Sticky, can you hear us?
Hey, I can. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Yeah. So talk to us. What do
Awesome.
you think?
I like it. I think it's great, and we've mentioned this a few times. Like, it's nice to see that they are listening and responding, right? So, like, I think that's probably one of the big things is like we gave a whole bunch of feedback during and after the event, over the last couple months or whatever it's been, and they made some changes. I think again, it's gonna, probably take some tweaking along the way, but that's great. That they, made some things like the realm point reduction for Zergs and the changes in instances or whatever. I like
Yeah.
it.
So for those who are just joining, let's talk about that for a second. So a new realm point penalty system has been introduced to the Caledonia zone for kills done by overwhelming forces. Realm points are drastically reduced for kills where a realm outnumbers the other by 3-to-1 odds or more. The penalty currently only triggers when the attacking realm has a 25 plus members in the area of the kill. This system is designed to encourage groups to roam around separately more during the event. So when they say the penalty only triggers when the attacking realm has 25 plus members in the area of the kill. The area of kill is not defined. We don't know exactly what the radius is there, but it essentially, if you've got what, three groups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, more than three groups taking on one group, then your RPs are going to go in with the trash. You're not you could still kill people. You're not going to get hurt, right? There's not going to be some sort of like lightning that comes down from the sky and smites you to death, but it means that you won't be making RPs.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was like, that might be one of the things that they like watch and tweak along the way, because like three groups running around together is still a good number of people, and it still doesn't incentivize eight manning, which like I guess is, probably not the goal. They're not
Right.
just saying like everyone has to eight man or you can't get RPs, but three groups, for those that do want to eight man, you're going to be running into a lot of groups of three groups,
I mean, it
teams of
really
three
is
groups.
striking a balance. I think what your point is that it's not saying you can't, you can't Zerg, right? Or you have to eight man, but it's that we're going to, just like they said, the system is designed to encourage groups. It's very much Broadsword's way, is saying here, like, here's a tool or resource that you can use or not use. If you want to still go out and BG folks down, you're more than welcome to. We're not going to tell you that you can't, but you're just not going to make a ton of RPs off of it. And so it might be better to just break up and kind of roam and not go as 50 of you all at the same time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think what tended to happen, I think you mentioned it, referred to it as clumping, was like you would hear a fight happening, like, on the other side of a hill, and you would immediately like run toward it. And then like, you know, three or four groups would do that, and then all of a sudden you've got 5, 6 groups
Right.
running together. Um, One thing that may happen with this though is like you may see an 8v8 fight happening, and a group of three groups run around together may look at that fight, run over to it, and wipe it out and effectively kill all of the realm points for everyone, even, you know, the eight mans
Well,
running.
that is the
So
I keep harping on this, but the player population policing themselves, right? That's kind of the
right.
broadsword take. And so yeah, they could totally ruin the fun and they could ruin the RPs for everybody, but that means that they're just going to get crap from their fellow realm mates, which might be more effective, frankly, than
Yeah,
anything else.
for sure.
Yeah, this is super exciting. So, again, if you're thinking about joining this Caledonia event, you've got 4 days from the start, which is 3 p.m. Monday, May 17th. You've got 4 days to create your tune and log it in. Do not create it ahead of time and log in ahead of time. You can create the tune, but the mechanism that gets you to Caledonia is the first login. So you can create all your tunes ahead of time if you want to, but do not log them in until the event starts after 3 p.m. Eastern, and make sure you get confirmation on either the Herald or on Discord that, or in game, there's a pop up that'll tell you that it's live. But do not log those tunes in until after 3 p.m. Monday, May 17th. If you log them in before, you won't get into Caledonia. So you've got 4 days from that start time, and you should log all your tunes in ahead, because after the 4th day, you no longer will be able to get into the instance. They will reset the start point, which is going to be in the tutorial zone for level 1s, and you'll be SOL, as they would say. So super important to not get your tune in ahead of time, load it up with a bunch of plat or whatever gear. Don't bother. It will not do you any good. You will not be able to get into the event by doing it that way. Let's go to chat real quick. Coda Cadenza, aka Gear Bunny Classic, says, I wonder if it'll recognize when a large even fight hits the wipeout point, like 50 versus 50, when one side drops below 12 or so on one side and the wipeout finishes. I'd be curious to know that as well, but again, they said it's essentially it's what is it, 3-1, right? 3-1 odds or more. So maybe it's similar to the way these buffs refresh, right, where they check every so often. I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of cooldown on it, but that's a great point. I don't know the answer to that. I'd be curious to know. Calibrex says, people will add regardless of the RPs they do or do not get. Most don't respect and never will. Nothing against them, but all playstyles are valid. And that's an interesting point. Sticky, what do you think? Do you think the Zerg leaders and the BG leaders will just continue to do their thing regardless of RPs earned? Or do you think that they will sort of step out of their comfort zone and try something new?
I think they may initially step out of their comfort zone and try something new, but I think like instinct's going to take over. Heat of the moment, like it happens to everyone. Like, yeah, Pronder's saying it in chat right now, like red equals dead. Like, it's true. Like, you see red and you want to kill it. It's very hard to like run past something where you're going to get a guaranteed 0 realm points and not hit it, even if those realm points are going to be worth a third of what they normally would be. So
that's an interesting point. Do you think like death well, there's the great part about this event, sort of leading up to my question, the great part about at least the last Caledonia event was that there were so many 8-mans that were out and about in the first few days that it meant there was almost an equal playing, maybe not in terms of skill across the board, but there was enough 8-mans out there for you to find a good fight and to be able to find wins regardless of where your skill level was at. That was a great thing, at least that I noticed about the last event. Also, right? And then there were not tunes, the sort of more competitive players didn't have realm rank 11, 12 fully temp tunes. Everybody was on kind of the level playing field. I wonder if after, and this is a question for you, after the first few deaths, do you think that'll be the trigger for people to go back to Zerging? It's got to be tough, right? If your instinct is to Zerg, to log in and then not make any RPs as a result of Zerging. And I wonder if those folks will just give up, or will they continue to try and just run down with larger numbers? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, and like the event kind of lends itself to hitting that middle ground. Is like, okay, maybe I'm gonna try to run in a smaller group of 16, and maybe like your 16 still hits groups of 8s to 12, and wins. Sometimes you lose, but if you're in 16, you're winning. Awesome. If you're 16 and you're still getting wiped out by 8s, then like maybe you add, 4 more, and then you go up a little bit, and I think if at some point you're running and you've got 3 groups and you're still getting wiped out by 8, then you're not going to take no realm points and quit the event. I think you're just going to continue to Zerg and get what you can get. And I think one of the big things that came with the last event wasn't necessarily the kills giving you realm points. It was the kills completing the quests that gave you realm points and bounty points and all of that. So it's not so much, or not just the realm points that you get from the kills themselves. It's the completion of these, like, get 7 kills or whatever and complete it, and you can do that 500 times a day, basically.
Right.
Um, and Zerging still allows you to do that at least.
I am interested to know, or we're interested to find out if Rescue will say, Rescue, Licorice, right? Their Legan will be running 8, so that doesn't really apply, but maybe Anna, etc. I wonder if they'll say, you know what? We're not going to do this. We're not going to do the event. Maybe we'll try it, but we're going to go out into new frontiers. And we're just going to continue our VRing. Now, to me, that doesn't actually sound like a terrible outcome. And here's why. I'm not suggesting that, I mean, I would love to see these people in Caledonia. That's not the point. But the biggest complaint I heard last time around was from people that didn't participate in the event saying New Frontiers is dead. If folks don't want to participate in this event, and they feel like the only way that they can play is by Zerging, and if they're not making any RPs, they go back to New Frontiers, it means that Caledonia will have more 8s, right? Maybe less people overall in the event, but more 8s roaming, fairer fights, better action, and there may be an opportunity for folks in New Frontiers to still have it their way, to still play however they want to play. So I don't know if it's a terrible thing. Like, I like the idea of saying, hey, like, this event is, we kind of want to encourage people to get out and roam and do their own thing and try a new play style. And we don't really, see Zerging being sort of beneficial for this particular event. And so here's how we're going to curtail it. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing for the folks in New Frontiers. Maybe it's a good thing also simultaneously for the folks in Caledonia. I'm only just realizing this as I'm sort of talking it out, talking out loud about it. But I think this approach actually kind of benefits everybody. Pronder says if folks don't want to play Caledonia, they should just go do their normal stuff. Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Wanted to go up to Coda Cadenza, who said, PvP is always anarchy tempered by whatever rules the community can enforce on itself, and there will always be those who use the freedom to do what they want in spite of the rules. Sure. And that is why I think this approach works so well on Ywain, because you don't have devs, and I'm not going to mention like where else this takes place, right? You could name other games, shards, etc., but where devs really like tell you how you're going to play and make pretty significant decisions ahead of time, right, regardless of what you want, on like what's possible and what's not, and what's acceptable and what's not. It's always been a bit different with Broadsword, and I appreciate that, because look, if people don't like it, it's up to the community to make that call, or the community to provide enough feedback to say, we don't like this, and for Broadsword to listen and change it. Coda Cadenza says also that he'll participate in this one and try and keep an open mind on the one instance thing. Maybe the buff will even it out. I can tell you from past experience in this last Caledonia event that the buff did in fact make a huge difference. Made a huge difference, right? Yeah. People were doing tons of damage. They whatever the damage reduction on lower level tunes was significant enough to where they were actually competitive. The gear is all really good, right? I mean, what
too competitive? It was crazy. Like the last day I was playing, I mained a cleric during the last event, and on the last day I was trying to like catch up on my minstrel. Was kind of my like secondary tune that I had rolled, and he was like, I want to say like 24, and I'm running around with all these 50s, and like most groups were very incentivized to group the lower levels because they got such a big bonus, realm point, bounty point, whatever that was, that they were like looking to like run 7 with like a level 12. Like they wanted the lowest level that they could find in their group because they got the massive point bonus from it. And the lower level got such a strong buff that like often they were the last one to die in a fight. Maybe it's because they were gray and they just weren't being targeted, but like they could take some damage. Like there were like level 14 wizards running around and their like level 10 armor like taking like 4,000 hits. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was definitely a boost. It made it like worth it to try and stay in the event and you know not just abandon like a level 20 character. They were 3 days behind.
I think it incentivized people to play multiple tunes as well. So once they hit the cap, they could go and level something new up. I mean, I had like I had some personal stuff come up and I couldn't play the entire event from beginning to end, but I had like 2 or 3 tunes that were at level cap for at least the first 4 days or 5 days of the last event. So it worked. I think it worked out pretty well. Sour Time says true. There were lots of groups that would dedicate the 8th slot to tunes that had the buff because it was a huge benefit. Well, that and if folks are wondering, I can't get in on day one. This is gonna suck. This is not gonna be good. It's gonna make life really difficult for me to progress to where everybody else is. I think that's testimony that tells you that's not the case. There's an opportunity at any point in time to get in, even in the last few days of the event, to get in and to participate. So the XP was wild for lower level tunes last time. The levels were coming every fight 2-3 levels in some cases.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no issue really. Yeah, so anyway, I'm very, very, very excited for this. Again, it starts May 17th, which is a Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. GMT. You have 4 days to create your tune and log in. And after that 4th day, just to be like super clear here, after that 4th day, you can create tunes all day long, but it won't auto port you into Caledonia. The first login, it just won't. So you will be out of luck. Hopefully, enough people learned to, that they might not have paid attention or didn't read the patch notes last time. And they'll know now that they have to, even if you can't play for the first few days, still create the tune and log in within those first 4 days. Just log in and then log out. Once you're in Caledonia, you're good to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I wish that like the cutoff was like 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time, just to give like if you can only play one weekend and like with all of the buffs and the bonuses and that sort of stuff, like you very well could just log in on that Friday and play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and probably come out with a level 50 RR5, ML10, CL15 tune, like no problem at all. But if you're like West Coast US based and like you really don't get a chance during the week to create a tune and log it in, like that's a little rough. But to your point, like try to find literally 2 minutes if you know that there's something you want to play, like log it in during the week at some point and just make sure that it's at least there, because once you're in there, you're fine. And I think you'll be fine, playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday only and being able to produce a solid tune.
Yeah, I don't think it is. People there. I understand that there are going to be certain folks that just simply cannot log in ahead of time. Get a friend to do it, a friend that you trust, right? That would be one option. Try and carve out just a minute or two to just create the tune, log it in. Those first 4 days, it'll auto port you. On the first login from the tutorial zone into Caledonia, log it out, close the game out, come back when you can. Before the end of the event, obviously, but come back when you can. It's going for 7 days, so you could totally come in on a Friday. You could create the tune on Monday, come in on a Friday, and as you said, Sticky, I think there's a pretty good chance that getting to level 50. I think for sure, if you at least had a few hours to play each night, and you're not playing in a Zerg or a BG where you get reduced RPs. If you're playing with an 8-man, that you'll make it to 50 no problem. So that's all I got. Sticky, do you want to add anything else to it? What is there something that really excites you about the most recent changes, other than maybe the realm point penalty system, or what gets you excited about this?
I'm just excited. It was just a fun event in general. Like I really didn't have too many complaints about the first event. Like there were little things here and there that I thought could have been adjusted, but like if they did it exactly the same way this time, I'd be perfectly fine with it. Like there was some things that you needed to kind of learn and adjust to figure out like how they worked. But once you kind of like figured out like how to, it's essentially a different rule set, right? And you got to like figure out how to play it. And once you figured that out, like I don't think there were any like major issues. You know, sometimes you got unlucky with a spawn or something like that, but otherwise it was great. I'm excited to see how the new changes play out. Again, I think it's again going to take some adjusting along the way, but I'm just looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too. As a reminder for folks that are not aware, there is a second round of drafts that are happening as we close the stream out. There's a second round of drafts happening on May 15th, which is less than a week away, or about a week away, I guess. I would highly encourage you to click the link in chat. It'll also be in the podcast show notes and in the details below on YouTube. You can go ahead and click that link, get into the Discord, make sure you apply ASAP and you sign up because I'm fairly certain that that entry period is going to close. Toonses and I think Ollie is also participating and helping out here. Toonses and Zoo will need some time to pull together captains and to get the teams built. So make sure if you are interested in participating in that draft night, it's open drafts. Anybody can participate at any skill level. Make sure that you click that link and you get in and you submit your application to play. It is EU time this time around. So it is not US prime time. It is a little bit earlier in the day. What is it? Is it 4 p.m.? Let me go back and look real quick. But it is significantly earlier. It is 4 p.m. Eastern on May 15th. So if you're an EU player or you're outside of the US, this might work better for you than the last one. There will also be a multi-stream event that evening. Beeb and I will have angles, literally every angle from every fight covered between Her Eye in the Sky, and hopefully we get a bunch of streamers to contribute their streams to the multi-POV thing that we did. Like last time, it was a lot of fun. There was great commentary. I really hope that you'll join us for that. Again, that's 4 p.m. on Saturday, May 15th. Okay, Sticky, thanks for joining. I appreciate your feedback. You can catch Sticky at twitch.tv/stickynote__. He streams quite a bit of ALB, US prime time, but occasionally he plays other stuff. So be sure to give him a follow, a sub, and check him out. I appreciate you all joining me here on this sort of breaking Caledonia event update state of the game. Thanks for watching. Ciao.